Okay, welcome to the stream. Now, if you are new to cryptocurrency, this might be a steep learning curve. If you're familiar with the Richard Echosphere, you can probably skip this one. If you do not engage with cryptocurrency at all, but you've heard about it, maybe it's worth considering further. There was a cryptocurrency called Hex. Now, it started off at an all-time low back in 2019 of roughly 0.004. These prices vary. There was also an exchange previously that did list it, however they disappeared, and so too did the data. Now this is the problem with centralized exchanges. If that centralized exchange goes down, you will not be able to access that. This is why over the time I learned more about DeFi. Now DeFi gives you the ability to hold your own keys, hold custody of your own cryptocurrency, which is what people in the original cryptocurrency Bitcoin did, because when they mined, from a USB drive, they were, mining to their own addresses. They held custody. There was no centralized exchanges at that point. The first one that I can think of was Mt. Gox. Now, moving on from that, I guess while we're looking at Hex's history, we can look at Ethereum's history. Now, Hex, built on top of Ethereum, it's a smart contract. It's a token with actual utility. Look into that further if you are interested. But with Ethereum, it started off in the ICO back in 2014 at a price of 0.31 cents. Now, currently it's worth a lot more. Now, you probably are aware of that if you're following cryptocurrency at all, but if you're new to cryptocurrency, I'm just pointing out some starting prices for context. Now, if you look back at Bitcoin, it began 2010, basically saying 0.008. That was the initial price. What's happening for Bear? Again, this community has a large following. It's very engaging. It's very interactive. There's lots of hexagons, now Pulsechains, now Pulsexagons. But as we going back to Bitcoin, as we can see, the price for these tokens were extremely low. But if you missed out on the early prices, maybe you heard about it later on, you missed out on some potential gains there. So the reason I bring this up is because currently there is a new L1 that has been forked from Ethereum. Now it is called Pulsechain. Also a DEX that is running on Pulsechain, which is basically a fork of Uniswap. Now if you're not familiar with these DEXs, you might have to look this up if you're new to the cryptocurrency space. If, however, these are familiar to you, you might be able to give this stream a skip. Basically, Pulsechain is a fork of Ethereum. It's copied over the entire state. So if you held any ERC20s, if you don't know what ERC20s are, look them up. If you held any ERC20s on Ethereum, as at the date of the fork, the block height, you'll be able to import those tokens onto Pulsechains with the settings, and they will be there, and you'll be able to trade with them. But currently, if you are this early, there is no bridges yet, so value has not been injected into the system, into the Pulsechain. But that is coming soon, to the best of my knowledge. What's going to happen? I have no idea. But what we are seeing currently is it's called ratio trading. So you're deciding how many of the bottle caps you have in exchange for other type of bottle cap before the value is there. Is a simple way of looking at it. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because if anyone is slightly interested in cryptocurrency, in freedom, in the freedom of speech, in the freedom of movement, which was a sacrifice which took place, which allowed you to take part in the early adoption of Pulsechain. Now there was lots of test nets, and now we're finally in mainnet. And I'll repeat, basically there was a sacrifice for the freedom of speech and the freedom of movement worldwide. Now this is I think that is a good cause, a good political statement to exist by on this planet. So moving on, if you're hearing about this, you're extremely early. Basically at this point in time, you have no real way of buying any of these Pulsechain tokens or PulseX tokens. The only thing you can do is have a look what you currently have in your wallet that's been airdropped to you. It's the largest airdrop in history. Now, moving on a bit, you may experience your transactions getting stuck, hung transactions, I don't know what you want to call them. This happens on Ethereum network as well, but I haven't seen it for a while, but it can happen. Same fix for Pulsechain. So I thought I'd bring this tweet up here. It shows you how to do all that. Now, if you're getting stuck with that, maybe, do some internet sleuthing. You better find how to solve these problems. The next thing we are seeing is, basically I'm going through my Twitter feed here. I tried to save some, details for people who are not familiar with Pulsechain. What we're seeing, I guess the tokenomics you could call it, is Pulsechain and PulseX are basically, it's been termed here, hyperdeflationary. They're being burnt. So as something is burnt, due to supply and demand, if supply is being stripped away, price will increase. The equilibrium point will increase as long as demand, even if demand isn't moving. Now, we're also seeing here, this is the fork, the block height in which it took place. So as of this date, if you held any ERC20s before this time and date on Ethereum, you would have a copy in your wallet. So if you could have a look out there on how to do this, it'd probably be best to go to pulsechain.com and use the links, like literally just use the links, and you don't even have to look at anything on the internet. Go to the right web page, click on Pulsechain, click on PulseX. If you have a MetaMask wallet, not going over the security stuff, but it will import those details for you, and you will click automatically. What's happening, Tins Up? I'm just going through some stuff here for people who may not be familiar with any Richard Echosphere. Any of the Richard Echosphere, maybe they're not even familiar with crypto. So I'm going to point out some things to do with Pulsechain before the bridge is open. Now, again, this is what I was talking about, to do with the sacrifice for the freedom of speech, freedom of movement. There was also one of the world's largest charitable events basically took place. $27 million was donated to the Sands Foundation. Although currently the Sands Foundation did go through some stuff, but at that point in time, it was a $27 million donation to a good cause. Now, if you click on your, token scan, you can check if you have any. If you had any ERC20s, again, you get a copy before this particular block height. Now, again, if you're new to crypto, you might have to go and do a little bit of sleuthing on that. Now, the next thing, so the founder of Hex and Pulsechain is Richard Hart. These are some interesting tweets more recently, 16 hours ago now, a little bit old. Burns we are seeing is a lot. So if you had one Ethereum before the block of the fork, you would get one pulse. And imagine how much money 331,898,586 pulse is. Ethereum is, that's a lot. But mind you, the sacrifice took place at a 10,000 to 1 ratio, so you can add that into your calculations for context. Now, I believe I did some brief calculations, and the break-even point for Ethereum, for Pulsechain and PulseX is roughly 0.0001. So the bridges aren't open yet, you're not able to purchase anything. However, once the bridges do open, if you are able to purchase any Pulse or PulseX at 0.0001, you would basically be able to purchase a similar amount to those that sacrificed. Now, the question is, will that actually take place? I'm not too sure, because I've never seen this happen before. This is history in the making. It's very exciting times. This also is worth looking at. I think anyway. So there's decentralized exchanges on Ethereum. You may be familiar with Uniswap, 1inch, and the like. Basically, information has come out indicating that PulseX has literally surpassed the amount of transactions that took place over a 24-hour period on the new L1 Pulse chain, which currently has no price. And it took place in the last 24 hours the amount which was higher than Ethereum. So what do I mean by that? So say there was 100 transactions on Ethereum dexes, there was like 101 on Pulsechain PulseX, mind you, sorry, which is pretty interesting. I'll actually pull up this image. I hope it won't throw everything off. But yeah, as we can see here, 24-hour transactions, 277,891, as compared to, ooh, very close, 277,773. So although the numbers are not too far off, for a day one launch, that is a lot of traffic. If you have a look at other forks of Ethereum, you might see ETH proof of work, ETH fair. They were launched basically what you would call a ghost chain. There was not as much activity, you know, day one. To be honest, I think the most activity came from the hexagons themselves. Maybe some of the Ethereans, but we'll move on from that. The next thing that is interesting to note is going back to the tokenomics of PLS. What you're seeing per block is a rather large, a shit ton of pulse being burnt. Now, what could that possibly mean for the tokenomics? Currently, we don't know because everything's ratio trading. But once price is injected, it appears as if the burn continues, it would have upward momentum on the price. You could break it down to simple supply and demand. If supply is being burnt, you know, demand is staying the same. Supply is being shifted to the left. The price is going to be going upwards because of the deflationary pressures being applied to the tokenomics on this particular chain, which currently has no price. And I can't emphasize that enough, because if you are new to this particular ecosphere, you might be lucky should you be able to purchase any of these particular tokens at this current time. If not, you may have to wait for the bridge to open. Now, this is also, I thought, an interesting tweet. It's worth noting that pre-bridge, Pulsechain.com and PulseX is the calm before the storm. So if you are lucky enough to be in a position to have any of these tokens, or even heard about this, and ensuring that you go through the proper channels to find the right information that you need to access Pulsechain.com through something like MetaMask securely, then you will be able to research this a lot further. This may or may not help your financial situations. Again, I cannot guarantee anything. This is not financial advice. To be blunt, so far, or 10 hours ago, there was 5 billion tokens burnt on the PulseX side. So again, keeping track, there is a fork of Ethereum with the entire state. It's already taking place. It's already in your wallet. If you had any tokens before the fork, it's now in your wallet. You have to import the tokens. Go to pulsechain.com, open up, switch to the network, and you will see Pulse PLS tokens. Then any other ERC20s, make sure they're official. You validate everything. You check everything twice. You can then add them into your wallet. Then you will see the fork. You see how it works. Then you can go to pulsechain.com, click on PLSX, connect your wallet securely if you feel comfortable with doing so. Then you'll be able to engage in ratio trading should you choose to. If you do nothing, you can just simply wait until the bridge is open. But currently, we saw from V3 to V4 about a 2 to 3 day period in which time you were able to ratio trade. Then the testnet bridge opens. Now, if a similar time frame is rolled out on mainnet, there may not be much more time left to be able to engage in all of this in the ratio trading, should you choose. Again, you might want to check out some of these Twitter spaces, Pulsechain Live, Ask Me Anything. Some very, very knowledgeable people in this community. This is an interesting tweet from the founder. Something's been stealing the value of your money, opt out. No, so if you know the history of the purchasing power of the US dollar, and we all know the US dollar basically rules the world, money makes the world go round, Now that's changing slightly with the CBDCs that are coming, and also other countries and other nation states that are trying to, project their power across the world. Now, the question is, do you really want someone ruling over you like a communist country? I personally do not. I think capitalism is the way to go. Proof is in the pudding. It does have some pitfalls, but I don't think the US dollar is going anywhere. Mind you, people have other ideas. They think CBDCs might be the way of the future. CBDCs will allow for the tracking and tracing of individuals on what you eat, who you vote for, what treatments you receive. Now, if you are in a free country, you should be able to choose cash, crypto, if you want to choose. But with the rollout of a CBDC, you might have some issues. So this is why I think it's important to point out to people who do not like the idea of a CBDC, to let them know that something else is out there. Letting them know that Bitcoin exists, Ethereum exists, and Hex exists. Now, you might be a little bit late to Bitcoin. Try not to laugh. The similar thing with Ethereum, although fees are getting worse. Bitcoin's getting clogged. Ethereum's getting clogged. Hex runs on Ethereum. Maybe not so late to this one, Hex, because of the t-share function. That's another topic. But if you are aware of a new L1 that has just launched, and this like literally just now, within the last 24 hours, and the prices still aren't even there and bridges are coming, you will have the opportunity, potentially, to be a purchaser of Hex at day one, Ethereum day one, Bitcoin at day one. Mind you, there could be some pullbacks, yes, given the wants and needs of individuals who participate within the system, such as Pulsechain. But if you are given the chance to go back in time and purchase Ethereum at the ICO price, would you? Bitcoin at its inception, would you? Hex at day one, would you? Personally, I would. So that's why I thought I would point this out. And should you choose to look into a new L1 blockchain that has come out that for some reason no one is talking about in the mainstream crypto news sphere, whether that be on Twitter, except for the Hexkins, except for the Pulsekins, there is no coverage of this. So if that interests you, check it out. If not, I've tried to explain the best I can. But if you choose not to, you have free will. You do not have to do anything. But like I said, would you, given the opportunity to purchase Bitcoin day one, Ethereum day one, Hex day one, would you do it? The decision is yours. Thank you for tuning in. This is Free Speech signing out.